Well, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Deeply Rooted Business Cast. My name is Jess, your resident operations expert, and I'm here joined by the lovely Rachel, our marketing mastermind. Today, we're going to be talking about something that I think a lot of business owners struggle with, and that is setting priorities and trying to figure out of all of the different things that you have going on in your business, what do you focus on next? I think a lot of times as a business owner, you can feel like you're like herding cats or spinning a bunch of plates. How do you know which one to start spinning first? And how do you then you keep them spinning so that they all don't crash to the ground?
There's a level of overwhelm that's just like inherent in business where you're either having client work, you're doing promotion, you're doing planning. And a lot of the times these paths and these timelines like overlap. And then you get another idea and you're like, where does this fit into the plan? So hopefully today will give you some clarity and some direction on what to do when one, two, or three ideas pop up and it doesn't quite fit into the existing schedule.
Yeah. So I think some couple things to keep in mind is typically as a small business owner, as a solo entrepreneur, now that's who most listen to us, we forget to prioritize planning, which I think is the downfall of a lot of not the downfall, but what keeps a lot of business owners stuck is that lack of proactive planning because you really don't have to do it because there's no one to plan with. Big shift in my business started happening when I started treating myself the boss and the employee and planning out things ahead of time and really taking those times to pause and reflect and really identify where the holes or where the gaps are in my current business, because that is going to really be how you pull out what your next priority should be.
Yeah, I love the reframe sometimes when you have to think, I'm an employee, I got to get this client work done versus I'm a CEO. How do we be more strategic? How do we push the business forward in a way? So it is a mindset shift. You almost need to treat yourself as two people when you're doing that. Because as the employee, you can be busy and you can have all these excuses, and that maybe not feel like your responsibility. But as the CEO, that is 100% your responsibility to plan, even if you are alone. It's really important to live as those two people in your business because we all wear so many hats. And these two areas are very core, like distinguished foundations to actually grow your business.
So I always recommend working on a 90-day planning period. So every 90 days, setting aside some time to step into your CEO role so that you can really reflect and analyze the data in your business, but then also ask some of these clarifying questions that we're going to go into. And one of my favorite questions that I ask when I'm thinking about a lot of things, and it could even be with my daily to list, if it's gotten a little out of control, I'm trying to figure out what to focus on that week or for those 90 days is what's the one thing that by doing so would make everything else easier or unnecessary? And I think that's a great focusing question. It's not my question. It's a question from the book called The One Thing, which is one of my favorite business books as far as productivity and time management goes. And I really think that that question helps narrow down a lot of fluff because you could focus on a lot of things. But I'm sure if you asked yourself that focusing question, you could figure out that one thing that would make your life easier down the line or that you wouldn't even have to do if you did this one thing first. But I think it also pulls out the core root of usually what's keeping you stuck. And we talked about how important it is in one of our recent episodes about how important it is to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And I find a lot of times when I'm asking myself that focusing question, it's the one thing is something that makes me kind of uncomfortable. And I've been procrastinating around it, trying to avoid it. But if I did that one thing, then everything else would fall into place.
It's reality, right? I'm in a place right now where I'm very, very much in employee mode because I have so much going on. And you haven't seen me promoting my new product online because I'm just acting as the employee and trying to keep everything moving in a direction. And so I think it's really important to understand that there's a lot of shoulds in business. Like you should do this, you should do this, should do this. But this clarifying question of one thing to make everything easier or unnecessary distinguishing that in your current task list or your current project list is so important to really give you that clarity and not waste time. Cause that's essentially what I'm doing now, where I'm like, I should do this, but I really need to be doing this. And I think that that's a big distinguisher between the shoulds and the needs, because there's a lot more needs in business than the pull that you feel that you need to be doing or that you should be doing all of these other aspects in business.
Yeah. So I love the clarifying question to really pull it out. And like I said, you can use it at different time periods. You could set a weekly focus, you could set a monthly focus. And then the next question is, which project, if completed, would make me feel the most fulfilled? Because there are a lot of things that you need to do in your business. Sometimes with myself, I'm feeling myself pulled to something else. So there's, oh, I need to be doing this, but like, it's not really fulfilling me anymore. So is there a deeper something underneath it that I need to shift so that I can build a business that is truly aligned with me? You can ask that clarifying question, what would make everything else easier, but easier to get to what? So staying focused on what your ultimate goal is, or the why behind why you started your business personally, not your mission, but your internal why of why you started your business. I just posted something about this on Instagram about my kids are going to be off or whatever. And a lot of my projects will be delayed for at least the first month. It's just inevitable. And I could try to create some crazy work schedule to just work around them being at home. Or I could just be, well, the reason why you built this business was to have this flexibility so that you could take this time off during the summer with them. And that's where it's like, okay, so what would make everything easier and necessary right now is just releasing the shame of guilt and all the things that I want to be doing and being okay with just growing a little slower for the next couple of months.
Yeah, I think that enjoyable part is really so important because then you just start to resent your business when you're doing things that you don't quite enjoy and you're taking on projects. And I think even from a bigger picture, your offers should be enjoyable as well. There needs to be that layer of enjoyment and fulfillment in everything that you're doing, whether it's like who you're working with, what you're delivering, and then the projects that you're actively pushing through in your business. Because it's one of the things that I think is probably the biggest perk of running your own business is that you have the ultimate say. You have full control to pivot and be like, not feeling this. Let's do something else. If we live in the world of 9 to 5s or corporate or whatever, you don't necessarily have that privilege. So that's one of those things that I think you should take full advantage of as a business owner to say, no, 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 this is a non negotiable. It needs to be fulfilling. It needs to light up something inside because if not, you're just going to burn out faster.
All right. So our next clarifying question is, what project best contributes to your most immediate needs? And when Rachel and I were discussing this episode, she brought up this concept called glass plate versus paper plate. So can you let everyone know what that means?
Yeah, I mean, as a business owner, you are constantly having your hands in multiple pots, whether that is social creation, building a brand, or doing something along the lines of developing the business, maintaining clients, and all of that. So, if there are certain areas of your business that are like, you cannot drop the ball on that, that is a glass plate. Like, if it's spinning in the air and you're trying to maintain everything and you're like, gone, shattered. If it's something that you're like, like branding, like, yeah, I got clients are coming in, it's a desire, a want, that's more of a something that can get pushed off. So I always try to reframe this of saying the things that you're prioritizing in your business should be an impact based off of either a gap or a very specific goal. So if your sales are really, really slow, the last thing you want to be doing is investing in big projects that aren't quite going to have the same turnaround or ROI immediately. So you really want to shift your focus to more sales generating tactics and less into kind of oh, I want to rebrand the website or I want to start this new strategy kind of thing. So really understanding what is the glass plate and what is the paper plate in your particular business is going to help you understand what you actually should be prioritizing right now versus what you are trying to do all at the same time. When you're planning, and you can go back and listen to the annual planning episode that we did, you should not have 10 plus goals a quarter. Realistically, it should be 3. And those should be weaved into where your business is currently existing at. And so if you're over here saying, oh, I have 10 major goals in my business and they're all glass plates, you need to reshift some things because that is not sustainable at all.
Yeah, I think too, this is one of the things that's so easy to fall into. And I see myself doing it. I see my clients doing it is taking on too much. And one of the phrases that have been popping up or one of the Instagram reels that I want to put on text is you can't time manage your way out of if you're overcommitting and taking many projects on, you're going to feel overwhelmed. It's about finding the one things that are going to make the biggest shifts right now and knocking that off your plate first and then going to the next thing. The last one we talked about is which project is integral to upholding your values. So really staying true. Obviously, we all value money, but like we have enough number at least like a month. I have 2 numbers. I have a monthly minimum of this is what I need to make every month to be able to sustain my lifestyle the way I have come accustomed to. And then I have my enough number where it's like, okay, I could live and do everything in my entire life with this much number. And then like that's the goal that I'm getting to. So obviously that's a value too. But then you have other values too, which for me, a big thing is flexibility, being able to take off in the middle of the week when my kids are home or that sort of thing. Or maybe diversity and inclusion. As business owners, it's always just tempting to stay focused on the money related projects. And of course, that's something that we all value slash need, but it's also important to focus on other projects as well. So that's just my plug for operations because I think a lot of people will focus on sales and marketing without shoring up their operations foundation. And that is just going to create a really stressful environment for you if you continue to scale your sales and don't have the operational components to support that scaling. So it's important that you get a nice mix of where you're selling, and then you may have to pull back and slow down sales, let them stabilize for a minute and shore up the operations so that you can support another push of sales again, because that's really how you grow in a sustainable way.
You've said it best in all of our systems episodes where it says systems is self-care. And if you prioritize self-care in your personal life, you 100% should be prioritizing it in your business as well, because we've all burnt out and it is a very hard road to climb out of or very hard hole to climb out of.
We have a whole episode on quarterly planning, but if you wanted to do a quick and dirty quarterly plan, you could write all your ideas and projects down and then take all of these questions and prioritize them based on what we just asked. And then just begin to set your focus project. Don't be afraid just to fully commit to one thing for either a 2-week sprint or a 1-month sprint, depending on how heavy your client workload is, and really focus on that one thing and move the needle on that first. And then you can always add on another project. But when you've gotten too many going in one time, that's really where you're going to run into the stress, the overwhelm, the nothing ever actually making it out into the world. And that is what I definitely want to help people avoid.
Let's do a quick recap on the clarifying questions so that everybody can do this ranking of your projects. The first one is which project, if completed, makes everything else easier or unnecessary? The second one, what project or which project, if completed, would make me the most fulfilled? Which project best contributes to my most immediate needs, whether sales, awareness, whatever that looks like? And then which project is integral to upholding my values? So go through the list of ideas, the list of projects, and put them through that filter and see what is left. And then just you recommend them setting what's left as their focus projects and determining what each week or month that they should focus on.
If you're a solopreneur, a small business, this is your monthly focus. As you grow a team, you can give your team members a monthly focus, and then that's how you expand. But if you're a one-man show, then set one monthly focus and then expand. What do you do with all those other ideas you have? You put them in your idea parking lot in your project management database. It is normal to have a backlog of ideas that you will implement one day as your business can scale? We didn't talk a lot about chicken and egg, but you've got to knock some things off first so that you can begin to attack those other things as well and be resourced to really pursue those other things in a way that is sustainable for you.
And definitely, I recommend giving the planning episode another listen. If you haven't listened to it in a while, it is one of my favorite episodes because it really does break things down in a very strategic, systemized way. And in reality, the way that small business owners have never really been taught to plan unless they've had corporate experience in the planning realm. I really think it's one of the biggest assets you can bring to your own business when you know how to strategically plan your projects, how to filter through all of the ideas and post them out there. So, one of the things that we hope is a valuable lesson to any new, existing, or very established business owner.
All right. So until next week, we're going to have the last episode of this season. I don't think we're taking a very long break, though. We're just taking a little mini break where we're going to be sharing the behind the scenes of the podcast because we love to do those for you. As always, if you found any of these tips helpful, make sure you share this with one of your biz besties. Be sure to follow us on your favorite podcasting platform and say hi to us on either YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok. And
Yeah,
until next week, we're
we're for
you.
you.